The world is changing, faster than our maps can keep up. For centuries, the Arctic was a frozen fortress, an impassable barrier of white silence that protected the northern flank of the Western Hemisphere. But that fortress is melting. As the ice recedes, it is revealing more than just new shipping routes. It is exposing a massive structural weakness in the armor of the world's most powerful superpower. Geopolitical analysts indicate that we are entering a period of deep strategic uncertainty. Look at the numbers. Russia is launching massive bombardments with new technology. Ukraine is spending 80 million euros every night just to survive. But while the world's eyes are fixed on Eastern Europe, a new vacuum is forming in the north. The longest undefended border in the world is becoming a liability. This is not about traditional warfare. This is about a strategic vacuum. And in the world of power dynamics, nature abhors a vacuum. Welcome to the silent front, where the ice is gone, and the competition has only just begun. There is a common narrative that Canada is a safe, untouchable neighbor, a peaceful nation protected by 3 oceans, and a deep alliance with Washington. But operational reality suggests this shield is a myth. The geographic shield is failing. Arctic ice is melting at a rate that is transforming the Northwest Passage into a global highway. What was once a barrier is now an opening, and Canada possesses limited military infrastructure to monitor this vast new frontier. Observers indicate that Canada's inability to fully secure its northern coast is no longer just an Ottawa problem. It is becoming a Washington problem. Recently, Donald Trump released images of Greenland as a U.S. territory established in 2026. This is not just about real estate. It is a signal that the U.S. is no longer willing to leave its northern flank to chance. Canada is a resource powerhouse. It holds 85% of its country's oil reserves in Alberta alone. It has uranium, gold, and nickel. But resources without protection are merely targets. The myth of the peaceful neighbor is being replaced by a much harsher reality. A border that cannot be defended is a border that will eventually be tested. We are witnessing the emergence of a radically expanded version of the DONRO Doctrine. On October 16, former White House advisors outlined a new framework. They call it the DONRO Doctrine. Under this framework, the Western Hemisphere is no longer just a collection of allies. It is a secure belt. The logic is cold. The logic is simple. Any weakness within this belt is considered a direct threat to U.S. national security. The focus has shifted from protecting foreign interests to eliminating regional vulnerabilities. According to this doctrine, the United States cannot afford a neighbor that acts as a soft entry point for rival powers. The U.S. is looking at Greenland, Canada, and the Panama Canal as links in a single strategic map. This explains the obsession with Greenland's sovereignty. It provides unparalleled access to Arctic air and sea routes. It is the ultimate high ground for missile defense. The Arctic is no longer the edge of the world. It is the center of the new security map. And in this map, there is no room for ambiguity. Enter the rival powers. China is not an Arctic nation. The shortest distance between Beijing and the Arctic Circle is 500 kilometers. Yet, Beijing has officially declared itself an ARCTI state. They are not using weapons to establish a presence. Not yet. Instead, they are using economic leverage and scientific research. Strategic pressure is increasing as China seeks alternative energy markets. In 2025, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney visited Beijing to discuss a new world order, a multipolar order no longer centered on the U.S. Canada is showing closeness to America's No. 1 rival. They are signing deals to reduce tariffs on electric vehicles and agricultural products. For Beijing, Canada is a golden opportunity. As Trump puts pressure on Venezuela and Iran, China is looking for a new geopolitical foothold in the Western Hemisphere. By positioning themselves as partners in the Arctic, they are quietly embedding their influence into the region's structural origins. The mechanism is clear: economic dependency today, strategic influence tomorrow. Why does this matter to the Pentagon? In modern warfare, location is everything. Greenland and northern Canada are the primary sites for early warning systems against global threats. If a rival power establishes a foothold, even a commercial or scientific one, the early warning window shrinks. Look at the technology being deployed today. Russia is using the Geran-5 UAV. It is a new version of the kamikaze drone with jet engines. It has a range of 1,000 kilometers and travels with cruise missile speed. Now, imagine these systems or their successors deployed in the Arctic. The strategic cost of a blind spot in the north is catastrophic. This is why the U.S. official recently stated that Trump is concerned about the U.S. drifting away from the Western Hemisphere. Control of the Arctic means control of the shortest flight paths for ballistic missiles. It means control of the rare Earth reserves essential for high-tech defense. The advantage goes to the one who holds the high ground. And the high ground is currently undefended. The system is reaching its limit. Canada possesses one of the world's longest Arctic coastlines. Yet, its military infrastructure in the region is described as very limited. While Russia modernizes its northern bases, Canada's presence remains largely symbolic. Escalation risk is rising because of this DFES-DFICT. Canada has historically relied on the U.S. to provide the heavy lifting for continental defense. But there is a growing rift. Under the current administration, Canada has focused on net zero emissions, planning to phase out oil sands mining in Alberta. This has created internal friction. Many Canadians in Alberta are now calling for secession in the Stay Free Alberta campaign. President Trump has joked about making Canada the 51st state. But for many in the oil industry, it is no longer a joke. If the central government in Ottawa cannot provide economic or physical security, the system begins to fracture. A divided Canada is a vulnerable Canada. And a vulnerable Canada is an unacceptable risk for the DONRO Doctrine. This creates a profound psychological dilemma for the leadership in Ottawa. On one side, there is the desire to maintain political autonomy, to stand with Denmark and Europe on the issue of Greenland's sovereignty, to challenge Trump by showing closeness to Beijing. On the other side, there is the reality of geography. Canada exports 75% of its goods to the United States. The U.S. is its largest arms supplier. Provoking a reaction from Washington carries extremely high risks. Prime Minister Trudeau has described China as a threat in the past. But now he shares views with Xi Jinping on the Arctic. This is a high-stakes gamble. Will defying Washington buy Canada more independence? Or will it provide the excuse for the U.S. to intervene to protect the hemisphere? In the world of power, fear often drives decisions more than logic. And right now the fear is growing on both sides of the border. This brings us to the most shocking assessment of the year. Canada will be the next Ukraine. This statement from Steve Bannon evokes images of territorial vulnerability and great power competition. It is not necessarily a prediction of tanks crossing the border. It is an analogy of vulnerability. Why? Ukraine became a battlefield because it was a gray zone between two powers. Canada is becoming a gray zone in the Arctic. Bannon argues that if Canada cannot defend its northern border, China will come and take a piece of it. Not through a frontal invasion, but through economic leverage and strategic influence. The long-term consequence is the erosion of Canada's status as a peaceful middle power. We are seeing a shift toward a more aggressive Monroe Doctrine, a world where the U.S. treats its neighbors as a security belt, rather than independent partners. If this trend continues, the border between the U.S. and Canada will change its character. From a line of friendship to a line of control. The melting of the Arctic is not just a climate event. It is a turning point for the global order. The U.S. is signaling that the Western Hemisphere is closing to outside influence. The DONRO Doctrine is the new operational reality. Policymakers are monitoring these shifts with increasing intensity. The goal is to prevent a power vacuum before it can be exploited. The U.S. obsession with Greenland and the future of Alberta are not isolated events. They are pieces of a single strategic map. This is not a conclusion. It is a turning point. Canada stands at a crossroads between its traditional sovereignty and a new era of continental security. As the ice disappears, the world of hard power returns. The Arctic is open. The stakes are absolute. And there is nowhere left to hide.